Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight, but I decided to record a story for you. Now, David told me that he was going to be talking about the Torah portion and that it had to do with doing mitzvot. And I thought, well, this is my lucky day because I happened to do a mitzvah today. I was bringing soup to a sick friend. And as the Rebetzin, I do that sometimes, just like we all do mitzvot sometimes. And other days, sometimes I don't, but I did today. And the story that I'm about to tell, the Rebetzin in this story, well, she's doing a different kind of mitzvah. Once, Reb Yeshaya of Poland had a wife, Chava, the Rebbitzen. And unlike Rebbitzen Devorah, she was always doing a mitzvah, but she was always praying. The problem was that she was always walking around with her nose in a prayer book, muttering to herself, Baruch atah Adonai, and she didn't pay attention to anything else all day long. So in the morning, Reb Yeshaya would go to the synagogue. He would come back after leading the prayers, and he would say, Chavala, what's for breakfast? And she would say, shh, I'm praying. Can't you see? I'm busy. I'm praying. Don't disturb me. Well, he'd leave her alone, and then he'd try again at lunch. Chava, are we going to have some lunch today? And she said, shh, I am in the middle of reciting Psalms. I'm not finished, and please leave me be. Well, undaunted, he came back at dinner and he said, Chava, what's for dinner? And she said, what do you think? Nothing's for dinner. I'm busy. I'm reciting Psalms. I'm saying texts. I'm studying. Please, can't you just leave me alone? Well, you can imagine he was very unhappy. He tried again. He even tried it in the evening. He said, how about a nice cup of tea? And she said, how about you leave me alone and make your own tea? Because I can't be concerned with anything in the physical world. I'm always reciting holy, sacred texts. I am in a different world. Leave me be. Well, the next day, Reb Yeshaya came back with a book. He thought he'd beat her at her own game. And he said, see, Chava, right here. The sages say, who is a good wife? One who does the will of her husband. And she said, you think I don't know what the sages say? The sages also say that anyone who is involved in doing a mitzvah is exempt from the obligation of doing another mitzvah. And I am always doing a mitzvah. I'm always praying. Leave me alone. Well, the next day he came back with a bigger book and he said, here, see, in the Torah, in the book of Exodus, it says, all of the pious Jewish women who took part in the building of the temple at Sinai, all of the pious women. And she said, so? No? And he said, so later in the Torah, in the book of Esther, it says the same phrase, all of the women shall obey the will of their husbands. And if you look at the parallel phrasing, all of the women whose hearts were stirred with wisdom and building the tabernacle, all of the women shall obey the will of their husbands later, but the parallel phrasing means that the women who were building the tabernacle at Sinai were not exempt from obeying the will of their husband all day, every day, 24/7. And she said, really? You're going to quote me from the book of Esther? I know the book of Esther. And that part, I know that part. That's the part where King Ahasuerus' friends convince him to kill his wife, Vashti, because she won't come dance naked at their party. Is that what you want? You want to kill me like Vashti? Is that what you want? You want to kill me? And he said, no, I don't want to kill you. And she said, well, what do you want? And he said, I want to eat. I'm hungry. And she said, oh, I'm hungry too. And he said, could you show me how to make an egg? And she said, I could. And together they went into the kitchen. And while she showed him how to cook an egg, they talked a little about verses in the Torah. And then they sat and they ate their meal together, and they talked a little more about Torah together and ate together. And from then on, every day, they would eat together and they would discuss verses of Torah. And sometimes they would argue vigorously about their interpretations. And sometimes they didn't. They would just eat together. And I am told that they never, ever went hungry again. And that's the story of Rebbe Yeshaya and his mitzvah wife, Chava. Good Shabbos, everybody.